Welcome to this ordinary meeting of the Council. Do we have any conflicts of interest? Any apologies? No apologies, no public forum. Late items, no late items. We then move to page 6, which is the annual report 2022-23, and David Paris is going to take us through this.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good afternoon, councillors. The Council's annual report for the year ending 30th of June, what are we in, 2023, is before you for adoption. The document is attached with the order paper for the meeting today. There's also a version of the summary of the report, which is a 30-odd page report highlighting and summarising the information that's in the main report. The main report being about 160 pages. The document has a great deal of information in it about the Council's performance over the 12-month period to June, and highlights the good things and the bad things, and the achievements and the non-achievements of performance measures and financial targets and information. The overall performance, the Council's financial position is sound, and we've weathered some storms literally through that 12-month period, and the cost of the repairs to roading in particular have been significant, and this extra subsidy we've achieved from Waka Kotahi to initially respond to those storm events helped significantly, but the financial position as at the 30th of June reflects the fact that we didn't receive all of the Waka Kotahi funding at that date. It was receivable in our balance sheet, so we didn't have the cash from them. But they did pay it in July. So a lot of the subsidy from Waka Kotahi is sitting in debtors at the 30th of June, not in the bank, but it was paid. The overall debt of the Council still sits at just on 51 million, and it's not as high as what was in the plan, because there's a number of projects that didn't progress that were going to be debt funded. And the main one of those was the airport project. The other one main thing that I need to highlight, there's a table page. There's two things, sorry. One is events after balance date, and the other is contingencies. The auditors have asked for a specific note to go into the contingency section around the New Zealand Mutual Liability Risk Pool scheme. So that is the insurance scheme that the Council was insured under for its public liability and professional indemnity insurance during the late 90s through to 2010, I think. There's a number of years where that insurance scheme has had claims on it that they didn't have enough funding for, and under a mutual scheme we are liable for calls on their funds if they continue to have claims or are continuing to be meeting claims, and that's been the case with Risk Pool. We recently received a claim for 65,000 as our share, and that's because Risk Pool are continuing to defend claims in the court. In the most recent one, the Napier City case that they lost in the Supreme Court, which means they have to meet some obligations and liabilities, and they come back to the members who were members of the mutual scheme. So that's what the note is, that there's potential for more calls still to come against that. So it's a contingent liability. It's not reflected in our finances, but we have to note it in our contingencies note. And over the page, note 34, post-balance date events, there's been some additional words added there around the financial impact of the transfer of 3 water assets and associated functions are not certain. The change of government has resulted in the possibility of further reform change, and the legislation that has been passed already potentially being repealed or substantially amended. So that's just a post. It's happened since the 30th of June, and we're noting it in our post-balance date events. It's a significant impact being noted. We have our audit Director Karen Young online. I don't have anything further to add other than what's already listed in the report, introductory report to the adoption of the annual report. Your Worship, I can either take questions first or you can introduce...
Yeah, I think we should introduce Karen and we'll go from there, eh? Karen, thank you for coming online. Just wondering if you've got anything to add to what David said?
Can't hear you.
You're muted. You're muted, Karen. Oops. Still not hearing you, just
Might be us.
Oh,
I think we've got you now, Karen.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Your Worship. The only thing I've got to add, and sorry, David, if you've covered this just before I joined, is that with the Water Services Reform Program, in addition to, you need to include that extra paragraph in the financial statements in terms of the audit opinion. There is already an emphasis of matter explaining the uncertainty over the Water Services Reform Program, and now I'm adding in an extra sentence. That sentence says, in addition, there is uncertainty around the Water Services Reform legislation. With the change in government, it may be repealed or substantially amended. So that complements the updated wording we have asked the Council include in its annual report.
Thank you, Karen. Karen, is that, are you asking all councils to do that you deal with?
All councils who are signing from yesterday onwards.
Okay.
So I think one in TCC, is that Tauranga City Council, were asked, I presume it's, I've only got the acronym from the OAG, but they said they asked TCC to put that in their annual report, which I presume was adopted yesterday.
Thank you. Right, do we have any questions? Any questions for David or Karen? Question, Councillor Goodwin? Stand, yeah.
Sorry, what's happening there? While I flip through the pages, I saw on page 29 of the report that a highlight was treating 4.2 billion litres of water. I don't know, from a PR point of view, I don't know if I'd call that a highlight.
Maintaining a double A standard for that litres of water is certainly a highlight.
Dear comment. I hope someone else got a question because it's just totally involved to get through.
While Councillor Goodwin's looking for that, is there any further questions? Any other questions?
I could
Okay.
add a little more. Just the fact that we are adopting the report late, so the 30th of June is the report date. The 31st of October is the statutory time when the report should be adopted. The last 3 financial years, I think, COVID has given an excuse to not meet that deadline. In this case, the deadline's gone back to what it's statutorily required, but due to a number of circumstances, we haven't been able to meet that. I don't think we're the only council in the country who's missed the deadline, but certainly getting it done now and before Christmas is good, because council might recall we only adopted the previous year's annual report in May this year. So we're certainly ahead of last year's schedule. Audit New Zealand have issued an unqualified audit opinion. That's what it's called, isn't it, Karen?
Yes.
So it completed their audit of the annual report only this week. So it's just tidying things up, and there may be some small amendments to the document when it's finally published. But there'll be edits. They won't be significant or substantial changes.
Thank you. Councillor Goodwin, have you got your question?
Look, they're just queries which can happen any time. It is a report after all, so I'm finished.
Okay, no questions. We then go to the recommendations on page 6. Somebody prepared, I'll move those recommendations, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Somebody prepared second. Second to Councillor Johnson. Is there any discussion? Councillor Holmes.
I've just got a query, and it's not a financial query, Your Worship. In your profile, or your forward, you mentioned about the representation of the Maoris, the iwi.
Yeah.
At our meetings, you said it's been very high. I disagree. I'm delighted that we have our Maori representative, the Marimas, turning up, but we haven't seen too many representatives from the iwi here at all. So I'm just concerned that just highlighting it from your forward.
Thank you, Councillor Holmes. I think if you look at it overall, certainly in the last little while there hasn't been as many, but if you look at it overall, we're dealing with a whole period of period of time, and we have had.
We have 2 reps here. One resigned, and the other member we rarely see him. So it's just a concern to me.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Goodman.
I suppose I'll just say on that point that there is a scheme, I know Kim's chasing it up, for resourcing of iwi to give them greater capacity to partake in democracy, that, what was it, senior leadership, regional leadership scheme. So that's one of the schemes that may well help help their attendance. And at the end of the day, you know, we didn't vote them very much money to attend either.
Thank you, Councillor Goodman. Councillor Helena.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, then, you know, I think if we're going to approve Māori representation on the council, we should be approving the same salary as all councillors in Māori. So I'm not surprised that some are not turning up.
Thank you, Councillor Helena. Councillor Johnson.
Yeah, I just want to say I disagree with that. I mean, we have really good attendance the last 2 terms and exceptional input, and also too, the roles are quite different. One is that elected members are elected, iwi representatives are appointed. Also, elected members have full voting rights at council meetings, whereas iwi representatives have voting rights at committee meetings. So I think the roles are quite different.
Thank you. Councillor Hennings.
Thank you, Your Honour. Kim, I'd just like to congratulate your team on a really awesome report. Visually, I like it. I'm not much into reading hundreds of words, but I think for people of the public to get a clear understanding of what we've achieved and areas we can improve on, this is a really awesome report, so well done to you all that were involved. Secondly, as a first year elected member, I remember reading the previous year's report and feeling quite overwhelmed, but I also feel that this past year's been hugely challenging for us, and we're a relatively new council, but also I think we should all sit around this table, and staff included, and just feel quite proud of what we've achieved. So I think it's easy to get stuck on the nitty-gritty, but I think it's been a pretty good year all round. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hennings. Any further discussion? Councillor Nelson.
Just in the report, page 8, talking about the stormwater overflow, it says there's no quick fix. I believe there is a quick fix for the individual properties, and it's really good to see that now being implemented. We talk quick fix in terms of the whole network, but for the individual households concerned, there is definitely a quick fix, and it's great to see those ants coming to the ground. And it's going to be great to see a lot more going in the future, the very near future, for a net quick fix.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson?
Yeah, it's just a small thing because you did say that you're going to tweak it, but we use a lot of acronyms in the report, GIC, SLT, and if the report's for the general public, they won't know what they mean. So I think we need to pay attention to the fact that we shouldn't talk in local government language, we should actually talk to our community.
Thank you. Any further comments? No further comments. Before I do put the recommendation, I would also like to really follow Councillor Lennox's comments really, and particularly thank the staff and David and his finance team for the superb job that you've done in getting this report. I know myself there's been a lot of obstacles along the way, and to arrive at where you arrived I think is a real tribute to you people, so thank you on behalf of the council and the community for the great job you've done. And Karen, I don't know whether you're still on there, but thanks also to the audit team. You've been very generous in your time and also in the empathy that you've shown for the certain hassles we have had along the way, so thank you for that.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's been a real pleasure working with your team all around. Really good engagement. Really good responsive to any suggestions which we may have had, and really good at providing supporting information. So my big thanks to you. We had a new team as well, including myself, and I have to say everyone couldn't have been more helpful in explaining how your particular council work, and I'm very, very appreciative and grateful for everyone, and really good annual report. Great work.
Thank you, Karen.
Congratulations on the adoption.
Thank you so much. Okay, the recommendations have been moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Johnson. All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Again. The recommendations have passed. Look, we now have no reports or information, and we are not going into public expedient, so I formally close the meeting.
Just one thought, get a paper copy with the budget, sort of thing I like to.
So the meeting is closed.